Hi, I'm Elizabeth, and I'm speaking to you from New Orleans, which is physically situated in the original homelands of the Chitimacha, Coushatta, Choctaw, and Tunica Biloxi Indian tribes. I would pay respect to these people and their ancestral presence. I also acknowledge the unknown number of enslaved people responsible for much of the infrastructure and architecture in this city, as well as the contemporary African American neighbors and citizens who are the culture bearers of what is unique about New Orleans. I want to talk to you today about reducing our academic integrity anxiety. There are two things I'm hoping to accomplish today, and it's to discuss the importance of alternative assessments and provide you two examples just to give you a schema of what you can do. We all know that our anxiety about online cheating really increased when we made the shift to remote teaching in the spring. A lot of us went into lockdown mode. We used lockdown browser, Respondus monitor, these high surveillance techniques, and we still know there is a problem with academic dishonesty in this remote environment, especially in high stakes exams. And so that's what I wanted to focus on today, exams. I just want to real quick show you this diagram because I really like it. So if you have an exam that you feel is really important in your class, I encourage you to think about this. Could you achieve your learning objectives without this exam, a high stakes exam? And if yes, then do it. Achieve those objectives a different way and reweight your assignments and your grading. If you need that exam though, can you redesign it? And there's a bunch of ways you can redesign an exam, and I've got some resources for you for that at the end. But let's say you say, no, I've got to keep this exam. Well, what I'm going to do today is say, are you sure? Are you sure? High stakes online testing has its challenges. We know this now. Maybe you can redesign it. And I want to show you two ways that I redesigned this in my health psychology class that I taught in fall 2020. The first is the midterm. For my midterm, what I did is I began with what are my learning objectives, what is my purpose of this midterm, and it was to get them to actually apply the course material in a novel way. And that's important because I had a bunch of frequent low-stake quizzes where I tested them on did they know the material. Here it was a unique application. So what I asked them to do was to design and create a health and wellness newsletter or brochure or pamphlet or public service announcement. I gave them a lot of flexibility, but they had to come up with a specific audience for this, and then they had to have these features, a quick facts section, an ask a health psychologist section, etc. I gave this to them well in advance of the due date, but the very next class period, I made them commit to who their audience was and why they chose it. And this way, again, I'm working on making this less cheatable, right? Working on getting them to have some buy-in to it and some specificity to themselves. This was the purpose in the assignment. I then gave them content guidelines and technical guidelines they had to use. And this is, again, now getting at the content that I wanted, right, that I was going to grade them on. I also gave them a rubric that matched these guidelines so they could see exactly where their grade was coming from. And they came up with some really good things. One person did a public service announcement for his high school basketball team that he actually ended up sharing with a coach after, his high school basketball coach after the exam was over. And then another one came up with a pamphlet. She did a really neat pamphlet for the, quote, older women at her church. So came up with some really neat things here. So for the final, I did something a little bit different. Again, I started with the purpose, and this was to actually apply the course material, demonstrate that they can use it in a novel way. But I also, for their final, wanted them to review and integrate course material for the entire semester. I wanted them to take that big picture look, and also to support their development as Xavier writes in the mission of our university. So what I did for this is either in the form of a paper or an oral presentation, they needed to pick a prompt, and I gave them a list of prompts, and they picked a prompt that they wanted to address. They could choose their own prompts. A couple of them did, and they were really good. We worked on them together. And again, here are the technical content guidelines. Again, I will share these finals with you in the resources. But here are the content guidelines, the technical guidelines, and this is where I wanted them to, again, use the course material. But again, using these prompts, and I made them commit to a prompt, well in advance. I gave them this final, and then a couple of class days later, they committed to that prompt and told them why. Again, it makes them unique to them, and again, less Googleable. And I didn't have concerns about cheating, and they did a really excellent job of these. I did get a normal distribution, grade distribution, like I would have on any take-home final because of some of the content guidelines. So finally, I want you to think about your course. There are still ways to do this, even if you have a large number of students in your course, even if it's a quantitative course, and I have some resources for you that I will share. Thank you very much. I enjoyed talking to you, and I look forward to checking out these resources.